All right, so I think this is working now. Yep. So I'm gonna continue working on what I had. Let me just put up some background music. Um, so previously I was working on this web application. I had all the unit tests. Whoa, give me a sec, because this music just went in way too high. Yeah. So, um, yeah, as I said, previously I was working on here on this IDE, which is on this Windows machine, and I had my Vagrant server inside of my Mac computer, which it's right next to this one. But the problem is that to sync the files, I was relying on Dropbox, and that was becoming a little bit slow. For some reason, it took a little bit long to sync some files whenever I was just doing just a small change. I mean, it was nothing big, nothing considerable, like something around, I don't know, 4 or 5 seconds. But the problem is that I just hit save, reload, or rerun the test, and sometimes there would be a disconnect. And when I started the test suite started running, the files hadn't synchronized yet. So you're developing pretty much save, rerun cycle. It adds up. So I might have did some work. I managed Vagrant to work locally here in this Windows machine. It's working fine. And as a test, I have it here. This is an um, SSH client that I had that I like a lot that I use, and um, they um, did they wait? Sorry, I'm noticing that my screen went blank for a bit. I'm logged in into this the Vagrant machine that is running inside of this computer, and as I say, this is like I don't even know this. I'm logged in on this development machine, and just to prove that this is running fine, I'm just gonna rerun the tests, the unit tests that I was working on. So this should give us a solid green line at the end. Let's see. All right. So yeah, all tests are passing. And what we did previously is that we essentially added a little bit of some classes, some interfaces, a little bit of unit tests, modification to the project that we were working on the previous broadcast of this. And besides that, I'm gonna go ahead and start adding some models. Right now, I'm working on pretty much all of the backend. So I already have the users and the domains model, which we have right here. We created some. This is on this right side. It's the users model, and here we have some tests from. One of the good things about Laravel is that you don't have. Well, it can be seen as a good thing and a bad thing. I'll tell you why in a minute. Um, a lot of the fields are not expressed here. A lot of the properties that this has, the Laravel does some of its magic to determine where it is. So, for example, you can see here that my user model has an email and a password property. In this case, they're hidden. Well, not that they're hidden, but automatically Laravel knows what to do with it. It maps them to whatever we have on the database. Let me show you a clearer example here. For example, the domain. Right now, we have a name property that we check with this validate function. This validate function right now, it's just called when we save an object. We save it here. Uh, Pretty much all of the models that I have in this application extend from Elegant. Elegant essentially is just this abstract class where we override some of the basic functionality. And one of them, it's this one. So as you can see, for example, going back to the domain, we check that the name property exists, but we don't have it defined yet. Now, as I said, it's good and bad because it allows us to very easily modify, the models, just add the field in the database, and we essentially don't need to do much in the application. Now, it's bad as well because it's not explicit enough. Sometimes you want to just see the object and determine which properties it should have, but in this case, it does not. Now, another way to go is that if you want to be explicit, my suggestion where you're working with Laravel is to encapsulate the field you want to access or the properties using the setter and getter methods. I mean, I don't want to go into this dilemma of where everything should be, should be encapsulated or not. I think that depends on the global vision that you have for your models. I mean, I'm fine with directly accessing some of the properties as long as I don't mix a little bit of, let's say that I know what my properties do and I start calling like chain methods on them, because essentially then I'm violating the single responsibility principle. Then I would be, I would be injecting knowledge of the implementation to this class. So that's something that I don't want to do, but I mean, it doesn't matter. In this case, let me show you. I think I had some examples. I don't know where it is. It doesn't matter. So let's start right away with this. I already have my users. This is just my migration. So let me just show you. So I got users, domains. I'm going to start working on these resource records. These are going to be one of the most complex models that I have. You know what? Because I want to link, I want to start also working on the linking with the service provider. You know what? I'm just going to start working on better on service provider. I think that's the best way to go. So a service provider will just contain a name, a key name, some short description, a long description, and some timestamps. That's cool. So let's go ahead and create our model here. Let's go ahead and let's just create. Now, our model is going to be a service provider. So let's go ahead and do service provider. And this looks okay-ish. That's cool. No, I'll create that. Now, again, oh, yeah, I need to remove this. So, and then I'm just going to hook this to my elegant object, which itself inherits all of this behavior from Eloquent, which is Laravel's ORM. And this is complaining right now because I haven't fully implemented the abstract methods defined here. So in this case, it's going to be get validation rules. So let me move this so we can see it. Let's go ahead and implement our function just so that we don't get this warning. It's going to be a public function get validation. Let me see, get validation rules. So let's just do that. And for now, because we still don't know much, let's just return an empty array because we said we were going to return an array. Let me copy this a little bit. Yeah, it's a very generic description for this. And yeah, this should be it. So let's go ahead and let's see what up. I'm noticing that we don't mark any of these fields. Sorry, any of these are. Yeah, we don't have a lot of constraints in this case. Let me open up users. Let me show you what type of constraints we can inject here. So we got users, DNS service provider. Oh, wait. This is going to be DNS service provider. Okay, so let me close this. I'm going to rename this thing to DNS because, I messed up. So it's going to be DNS service provider. Now, I could separate this, the name of this with underscores, and, I will then need to relocate my class so that it auto loads, because with the auto loading, um, every underscore, it's essentially like a different folder structure. But in this case, I don't think it's necessary. So I'm gonna go ahead and I had a hand in those. I'm gonna go ahead and just leave it as it is. I mean, I can rename it then later. So I'm gonna do a refactor and the whoa. Is this gonna change? I don't want this to change. Um, you know what? I don't know if this is gonna change the occurrences for this. So what I'm gonna go ahead is that I'm gonna rename it directly. So if I go to app and then it's gonna be under models and then service provider to DNS service provider PHP. Now let me just there we go. Right, that was nice. So let's define some of the fields in this database migration so that it creates certain constraints within some columns. Name I'm not too worried about. I'm more worried about the key name. So let's define that as a unique column so that we don't have duplicates. So let me define it as key name. Now, yeah, this works. Besides this, I think we should be all right. This is gonna be unique. The rest of them, yeah, this should be fine. This should be fine. So, I don't know. I think by default, all of the fields are gonna be required. So let me go Laravel. Oh, yeah, Laravel migration required field. I think by default, it's makes it required nullable. Design the column is null, but default Laravel makes column required. All right, so we shouldn't be needing to do much for this. Along this, yeah, I think I want to make this field as nullable because I don't want to have all. So, well, now that I think of it, I'm not sure. Nullable. Hmm, let's give this a try. So, do I have to call it right after this? So, if I do table nullable. Okay, so I think I have to call it after this. It's gonna be nullable. Um, let me see. Nullable. Let's see what we can get. Schema builder. All right. Some good beer. If I do nullable timestamps, signate that column allows null. Oh yeah, so nullable works. Why is it highlighting it? Did I mistype it? Nope. I think it's not correctly detecting some of this stuff. So, should be good. I'm gonna rerun the unit tests, and the reason why I'm gonna rerun them is that if you remember, on the setup function of our unit test, I have a call to sorry, I have a call that runs all of the migrations again. What up? Wait, I don't know why that lag happened. So let's check. Now, if this nullable function would have failed, I don't think this test would have happened. So let's just make sure that if I do, let me just call something random here. This should fatal, I guess. Let's see. No? God damn it. So, okay, we can check that then on our unit test whenever we create something for this. So, DNS service provider, the actual class. Let me just move that here. And so, for example, on our user test, we have this function which gives us a template. I like to get that. So let me do. Uh, whoa. This is going to be. Let me go ahead because let's start working on the actual user model first. There we go. Go to domain. DNS service provider. And our table. Let's go ahead and just add a few of this. Whoa. So our table is going to be DNS service providers. That should be it. And the class itself should be DNS service provider. Now, besides that, we shouldn't have more to do in this case. I think it's very straightforward. Now, we can start working on some of these fields. And we just have so many things. So okay, this is simple. So let's define which properties we want to validate whenever we're about to save or do something weird. So name, is name required? Nay. Well, let's. Do we want to keep the name unique? Yeah, it makes sense, right? So let's just go ahead and do this, and then I'm just going to do here name. So this name should be required, and yeah, let's define it as, how do we define the uniqueness in this case? Unique. Okay, so it's gonna be unique, and then actually, now that I think of it, let's call this is gonna be pretty neat. So whoa, what the hell? Unique, and then let's just this table, and that should give us this. Now, so that's just gonna make sure that this this property is unique within this table, which is fine. I mean, it's already enforced by the database, but let's just enforce it in the application. And I mean, with this statement, we then probably can remove it from here, but let's just keep enforcing that. I mean, we have nothing else. Now, our key name should be pretty much the same, but I want to enforce this. I want to enforce this limit on the 50 characters. So what I'm going to do, I don't recall how I need to define the range. So if I do Laravel validator validation, so let's see how many options we have here. So required without digits between. You see the field there must have a size between as given a start value in the same fashion as the size value. So are this I'm thinking if these are inclusive or not. Let's check out the size. Field there must have a size matching the given value for string data value transmitted or characters. Okay, so let's oh this will count this. So let's now add between 1 and actually let's give it 3 characters. I think it would be very odd to have a key name that is just like 1 or 2 characters. And then 50. And we got our key name, our short description. It's also required. So let's implement that. Short. Um, oh, wait. So I have this thing here. I don't like that name because I don't know if I have to automatically how the magic method will work. Does Laravel automatically transfer that underscore into essentially just removing the underscore and capitalizing the second word? I'm not sure. Damn it. Oh, let's see. Mm, so I want to check on Eloquent. So blah 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 blah. I read it. Well, god damn it. Let's just find Eloquent. Mm, property column. Let's see. Use undefined constant. Yeah, of course. Get attribute, which takes a string, thus I'm not able to retrieve the column via. Okay, so yeah. So if I do short description, I think I'm gonna have to do this like this, and then long description. So if I do here, let's go ahead and short description. And let's just define that again as required. And I'm not gonna care about the uniqueness for this. That's cool. And I'll just make sure that this is relatively small. I'm just gonna do between, I really don't care about this. So between 0 and just 100, which is what we have here, and the long description, we really don't care about that. So, well, let's just define this as what we have. So let's just define the length for this. Now this is not required. Let me just do a comma here. So this is going to be between 0, and 100. And it seems 255 with the default. Let me just check on Laravel Eloquent. So Laravel Schema Builder string. So String varchar. What's the default varchar or maximum varchar? Uh, well, let's just keep it as it is. I think it's 255, but I think 255 is more than enough for what we have in this case. So should be good. And yeah, this should be good so far. So what I'm gonna go ahead is to create a seeder on our seeds folder. So every time this seeder runs, it's gonna create the users, the domains. Now let's create, probably here I'm gonna be calling this call, and this is just a little bit ahead in the future. Domain resource record table seeder and resource. I think I had a type here, resource. Now what I'm gonna do here is that I'm now gonna create a, oh, actually each domain, huh, oh, this is weird. So I defined, oh, okay, okay, no, that's cool. So I'm gonna go now and create my, this call, let's, I'm gonna remove this for now because yeah, I'm getting way too ahead of myself for myself. So I'm gonna call DNS service, whoa, service provider seeder. And of course it's gonna fail because I don't have this class yet. So I'm gonna create it right now. So DNS service provider seeder. And I'm gonna create it. No, I don't want to keep track of. I mean, everything is being tracked under version control. So if I do a get status, well, I don't have access. You can see my Mac here, but if I go over here and just do the get status, I'll see what up. So extend seeder, and I think this is just the run function. So there, what is database seeder? Where is the one that we just created? There we go. So let's do public function run, and let's create some registry. So let's create let's go ahead and create a awesome provider. So DNS provider. Let's create cloudy DNS provider, and let's define this function as DNS provider. Let's go ahead and define it. Now the reason that I'm creating it separately and I'm not injecting this logic here is because I want to keep this run function very, very straightforward and in a very high level of abstraction. So I don't want to, mix that function with all of the nitty-gritty details of creating a service provider. So cloudy. It's called cloudy. New DNS service provider. So if I do cloudy, what are the fields that are here? We got the name, so we require this name. So let's call it cloudy. And now cloudy key name, it's gonna be cloudy. And cloudy shirt description. Let's put this like awesome cloud servers and pizzas. And the long description. Do we want the long description? Let's keep cloudy without one, just to have one without it. I'll go ahead and create a different one. Save, and it's actually just return cloudy because we at some point we need to use it. I mean, it doesn't hurt. So I'm gonna go ahead and create another provider. That's going to be public function create. It's this create um, Amazon. Nah, this is gonna be very confusing. Create DNSC provider. Create. No, I didn't think of a good name because I'm probably gonna be reusing this value a lot. Um, Super cool DNS. Alright, sorry, my naming is just so freaking bad. But, meh. So super cool, and then let's just create super cool, and then it's gonna be a new DNS service provider. Let's just let me just copy it here. I'm just gonna be renaming this. So let's just rename it to super cool, and super cool. Let's just inject a space here. It's gonna be super cool, and hip and cool provider of stuff, and then let's define a long description for this, guys. Super cool long description. Let's put them since circa important service provider. Yeah, this works. Yeah, providing cloud services since then. Yeah, that works. So this should work. Let's just return super cool even though I'm not using it. I like to keep some of this stuff. So let's try to see if this runs. Now, when I rerun the test as well, as I said, we're gonna create this. Sorry, we're gonna invoke this seeder. And the good thing is that whenever we call this save method, because this extends from elegant, on each save, we're going to validate. So we're going to make sure that our validation works, at least in this positive test. Let's now then go, if this works, let's move on to create negative tests. So let's see what happens. All right, so this ran fine. Nothing exploded. So this means that our seed at least was run. Actually, let's make it fail. Sounds good. We'll be able to see if we're actually running it. I'm that paranoid. So let me just remove this. Just remove it. It should fail in the first one. Because I think, yeah, there we go. Because now on every test, we're trying to create this stuff, and we can't create this object. There we go. So the name is perfect. So we're good. Just send it to test. It should now go back to green. Let's see. Alright. So let's actually start creating some tests for this. This is going to be linked to the domains, but let's not start worrying on that now. I think we're gonna follow a similar philosophy that I had when I was checking some integration between domain and user. That, I mean, please don't hang me, because I know that those are not unit tests by themselves. Essentially, where it's more of an integration test. But please don't kill me. Uh, I'm a good guy. Um, but I like to keep those in a separate file because those do not belong as part of either the domain or the user table. So, I'm good with that. So let's continue. Let's create our tests. So let's create some tests, as I was saying, just for the service provider. Essentially, let's just verify some of this logic, that this logic makes sense, and that we're not able to create some objects if we don't have this stuff and that type of test. So let's go ahead and create our class. Let's go ahead and create this DNS service provider test.php. This works. No. Oh, sorry. This is just the name of the class. Nope. So let's make sure this extends. Let's test case. Yeah. So now this is an actual test. Now, public function. Let's actually create this template type of function that I created for the rest of the test. So let me remove this thing here. Move to the opposite verb and wait, right there we go. So test function get full DNS service provider template. So we're going to return an object populated with everything, and that's very useful for our tests. So let's call this DNS service provider, and let's new DNS service provider. And let's specify, let me load up the DNS service provider. Let's specify the required fields, because essentially we just need this so that we can later modify and trick it. So name. Now we gotta be careful because we can't reuse any of the data that we have on our seeds. Otherwise, whenever we call save on this, it's gonna fail because the data already exists, and especially let's say for the name, which is a unique property, it's gonna fail. So let's go ahead and create this. Let's put this here soft layer, and then DNS service provider, and then key name. Actually, this is gonna be SoftLayer, an IBM company. And the key name, let's keep it SoftLayer. And then DNS service provider, the key name, the short description. Let's create, 3 bars servers. 3 bars is a common motto that they have. So the long description is gonna be awesome cloud servers, bro. 3 bars. And let's just go ahead and return the DNS service provider. And this should be enough. So what I'm gonna go ahead now is that I'm gonna actually start creating some tests. So if I do this was just like a helper. Public function test create simple service provider. Create simple provider. I think because of the context we know that it's a DNS service provider. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's call this provider, and this get full DNS service provider template, and then let's just do provider save. This should be enough to get our tests passing. So let's go ahead and make sure we run. So we got 11 tests. We should be able to see at least one test more. Here you go. So we got 12. We didn't assert anything, and that's cool. We just want to make sure that we don't throw an exception here. And or oh, actually, let me verify because I remember. Oh, okay. So we did. We seem to do some checking. I mean, this is very simple, but necessary true. We're just making sure that we get an ID, and that's fine because I think it makes sense that we're making the assumption if we call save, then we're gonna get an ID. So let's just verify that the provider ID is gonna be greater than 0, and that should be more than enough. So let's go ahead and actually start testing these validation rules. So let's do public function test create provider fails with no key name. So I think this is very explicit. So provider this get, and then let's just unset the provider key name, and let's try to create this. I'm gonna run the tests as they are just to see them blow up and make sure that I'm doing the right thing. There we go. Um, damn it. Oh, create no. Save. Sorry, I'm used to other frameworks where we call create some ORM, some different ORM, conventions. Let's make sure this is failing because of what we expect, that we don't have a key name. There we go. So let's just make the annotation. Add. Actually, I can copy pretty much of it. So and call this so. Oh, wait. Copy. So add expected exception. Let's just specify the type of exception. In this case, this expected message. Key name field. Just leave it as field is required. And this should be more than enough, at least for now. Let's see. Let's rerun. We should get a solid green because now we've specified, we're cool with this test. Throw an exception because we know what we're doing. So now we have this going on, and this is now passing because we told PHP unit that we expect this test to fail, and that's the way that you do it. You specify an exception message. One of the cool things that you don't need to specify like the full message, even though it is useful. I think it is more important to test the type of the exception because that's probably what you want to rely on. You don't want to do some string parsing to determine if you failed or not. So just just leave it as it is. And the next step on this will be let's test other stuff. What are what our key name? Let's try let's try duplicating this. So function test create provider fails with duplicate yeah, key name. So I'm gonna call like provider one. This get full DNS. I'm gonna provider. I'm gonna create it as it is. Save, and then I'm gonna do provider two. This get full DNS service provider, and provider two. Save. Now, probably yeah, I know that I'm gonna get an exception, but let's just make sure that that's the case. I mean, that's the whole point of the unit test. And essentially what's going to happen is that I'm going to create on provider 1 a provider with the key name of SoftLayer, and then I'm going to try to create a different one from provider 2. And because the key name is the same, this is not best. So The name has already been the name, the key name, the name of the key name. So in this case, I'm just gonna test the key name. Uh, so I'm gonna let me just copy it as it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and say already been taken. Uh, already been. Whoa. Okay. Copy. So let me just remove this from here and then already been taken. And probably I want to check now that um, well, let's copy this. It is. I want to create a separate one for the name because you know one test should just be testing one one aspect, right? So I don't want to be mixing stuff. And I mean, in this case, with what we have, I mean, shouldn't if I do the test on both properties at the same time, shouldn't be a big problem. I don't want that to happen. So public function. Let's go ahead and close this because. One second. There we go. So test create provider fails with duplicate name. So let's go ahead and this is going to be pretty much the same actually, but we're going to be expecting a different exception, which is already thrown, but we just want to keep this test. So it's going to be just name has already been taken, and let's run this. We should get a solid green. There we go. So this is working fine. We're now sure that this is going to work than what we expect to be on every object creation of the DNS service provider. Um, it's going to happen. So let's go ahead and let's create the link between the domains and each DNS service provider. So yeah. So let's go back to domain. So one domain can have, well, now that I think of it, one domain can have many service providers. How I'm not sure if I specified that. Okay, so I haven't linked, not even in the database, this thing. But because I'm gonna create, oh, whoa, no, because it's gonna be a many to many, sorry. So, service provider, there we go. So, hmm, let me, I don't know if I have to create an object for this or not. Because even if this is an xref, I'm not sure I'm not sure how Laravel, how Eloquent works with this. So it's gonna be on docs and schema. No, it's just on the ORM. Let's do relationships. Many to many polymorphic. Nope, many to many. This belongs to many. Because what I want to check has many through. Mm, no, I don't like this. So belongs to many. I get that this belongs to many, but how would I add? Ah, damn it. Let's So let's go to our uh, let's let's start on our domain and oh sorry public function it's called DNS service providers and this belongs to many DNS service provider. Yeah, I think DNS service provider ID. Yeah, I don't know how the naming will be in this case. Um, because I don't know how this integer domain ID. Hmm. Probably, I guess that's going to be like this: DNS service provider ID and primary, and then it's just DNS service provider ID. Because I don't think it's case sensitive. And DNS service provider xref, that's cool. So actually, let's give this a more xref primary key. Now, on my domain, let's try to set this up. This is gonna be a little bit tricky, but we'll see what comes out of this. So, um, uh, domains belongs to many domain, and I think our relationship is ready. Let's set some documentation here, and then we'll rerun the test. Return DNS service provider. It's gonna return collection. Return domain, a collection of domains, and this should be good. Let's give this a try. Let's run our unit tests one more time. Uh, yeah. So they ran without a problem. So I guess we're good. Now, let me see how can I create this relationships. I'm not sure. Eloquent, create many-to-many relationship. Create many-to-many. I want to create the objects. I don't know if there's something else. Okay, blah blah blah. Many setup. Okay. Okay, so migrations. I already have my migrations, my model. Bear. Okay. Each bear has one fish to eat. Okay. Fish model. That's cool. That's cool. Uh, so fish tree. Oh, so it's gonna be attached. Okay, interesting. Let's search for this attach. Oh, I'm saying attach. We'll just adjust all birds to both picking for a management. So, um, let me. Oh, it's things that I'm not sure what do I use here? So, but do I need to do it both ways? Probably not. So let's go ahead and whenever we create our domains, um, actually, let's check our database here. So we create first the service providers, and then we create the domains. So let's now link. Um, yeah, let's link our domains to a service provider. Um, now, I think if I should I do it. Uh, DNS. Let me create this new seeder where we do that specifically. So this call, and then let's just do uh, DNS service provider to domain call DNS service provider table seeder DNS service provider. Okay, DNS service provider. I just realized that I need to rename this. So provider table seeder. There we go. So database DNS service provider. So I create it like that. Yeah, this looks good. So DNS service provider to domain seeder. Now it is not going to be focused on a table, so let's skip it as it is, and let's just create our seed like that. And no, just define this. And here I'll focus on creating those relationships because I don't want to mess with the domain seeder because the domain seeder should just be focusing on the domain table. And that's why it has table on the title. So then seeder. Let's just public function run. And then let's create, how we want to do this. So let's create on our seeder we create two, right? Yeah. So by default, let's link both domains. Yeah, let's link both domains to both providers. So let's do, well, this link uh, providers to domains, and link providers to domains. So let's, oh, sorry, let's get our domains first. It's going to be in domain all. And let's get our service providers, well, DNS service providers. Service providers. Do DNS service providers. DNS service provider. And let's just do all. And the next thing will be that let's just iterate for each domains as domain. And let's go through each DNS service provider as service provider. Whoa, what happened here? Service provider. And let's link service provider domains attach, and then let's just do domain ID. Do I need to save the object after that? Probably, right? No? Okay. So I guess not. So, I'm not sure how we're gonna be able to test this. Let's just do some outputs here, just to make sure that, well, I don't even know if the output will get out. So let's just do this. Let's just run our unit test. Let's see if we get this smiley face to show. Oh, fail. Something went bad. Whoa. Okay, so general error has no column. DNS service provider domain. Oh. Okay. Wait, why? Okay. So table DNS has no column name. So this is coming from the DNS service provider to domains header. Insert into DNS service provider domain. DNS service provider domain. Wait, oh, has no column named DNS service provider. Okay, so whoa. So oh right, of course. The yeah. Ta-da-da. Just rerun this test. Maybe we're gonna fail. I don't know how PHP unit verifies this stuff. I don't know if that smiley fails will affect anything. Well, let's see which error came up now. On 30 constraint, not null constraint, and DNS service provider created at Uh, okay. So probably this xref table, not null. So I think this table does not support uh, timestamps. So yeah, I guess we then don't have to keep track of them. Here we go. Hmm. I'm gonna go in and remove this. Now I want to make sure that this works. Uh, mm, mm, mm. Let's see what we can do. So our test, we got this. We're gonna have to probably create this separate test file, something like domain and user test, like domain and DHC as they should. Man, my fucking chips are good. Mm. I'm tired. Just do a quick check on my Mac. See where I'm at. So, oh, I just forgot. Uh, just do a quick check Mac. Synergy. Well, let me search right here. Kind of problem with synergy. Spacebar and then letter S. This. God damn it. Hmm. Hmm. So not much. Unless I'm doing something wrong. This is English Canada. And oh wait, and my keyboard here, it's the keyboard that I have in this machine. It's not US. Ah, damn it. Well, fuck it. Just close this a little bit. Just rerun this. All right, back. So, man, I'm getting really tired. Need to sleep. Let's see where we're at. This was running fine. So the answer is the domain seeder. So this was actually being run, and actually, let's give this a try. Then for each domain, let's print uh, domain DNS service provider, and DNS service providers, because yeah, it's a many to many. So DNS service providers. Let's see if we get a list of the service providers. Okay. Mm, okay. There we go. Yeah, so seems that it's working fine. Yay. So, hmm. Mm, 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 mm. Thinking how we can test this. Move this. The opposite verb. Mm, yeah, service provider. It's the seeder. No, but I want to check the test. So, DNS service provider test. Um, let's create something like DNS service provider and domain test. Nope. So, we'll get rid of this line. So let's hence test case. Ooh, test case, and now let's. I'm thinking. Mm, let's get um. Mm, 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 mm. Let's do this. Domains. Oh no. Mm, test. We're gonna test that. Test all existing domains for service provider. Let's do this. And so let's get all. Let's do service provider ID. Let's give it this one. Now let's do um all domains. Let's get all domains where let me just into many um actually I need to perform a query directly because this is from the ORM. No, database probably this where table. Then we're gonna have to use the table for it's gonna be this table. So uh, there is service provider and domain. This table. Let's do this. Protect the. Let's just do xref table name. Probably you're gonna need it in some place. So let's just do xref this xref table name, and then where and I don't know what's the name of our let me move this to opposite group and DNS service provider ID, or DNS service provider ID equals DNS service provider ID. And I'm going to do get and DNS service provider ID. There we go. Now that I have this, I got all domains that I know are like this. So let me now instantiate the service provider number one. So service provider is going to be DNS service provider. Find then service provider ID, and then I'm gonna do this assert equals yeah, I think this should work. Domains to service provider domains. And let's print you know what, let's just